Animal Kingdom is one of the most unique parks Disney has ever built. But it's also one of the most confusing. Because when you walk in, it looks incredible. Massive landscapes, dense jungle, detailed environments everywhere. My first visits to this park left a lasting impression because of the ominous way that nature combined with theming can immerse you into a park experience. And then you start realizing there just aren't that many rides. Let's start with that, because this is the biggest thing you notice almost immediately. Animal Kingdom has one of the smallest ride lineups of any Disney park. You've got Flight of Passage, which is easily one of the best rides Disney has ever made. Expedition Everest, which is still a solid coaster. Kilimanjaro Safaris, which is more of a slow-moving wildlife experience than a traditional ride. Navi River Journey, which is visually impressive but really short. And then a handful of smaller attractions like Cali River Rapids. When I visited, I was impressed by the ambience and sense of adventure the park created. But I felt like some areas felt quiet and dead. I also felt that while the rides were strong, the overall lineup was very small for a Disney park. And that's really the key. The rides themselves are good, but the quantity just isn't there. And once you notice that, you start noticing something else. Entire sections of the park where there's just not much happening. Animal Kingdom's layout itself creates this feeling in a lot of places. The paths are not straightforward. They branch off, they curve around water, they lead into smaller side trails that don't always connect back in obvious ways. And sometimes those paths don't lead to rides. They lead to viewing areas, animal exhibits, or just more walking. During my visit, I often felt like I was on a wandering nature trail with no real theming or atmosphere, but the sense of adventure and curiosity was still there. And that's actually by design. This park wasn't built to move you quickly from ride to ride. It was built to slow you down, to make you explore, to make you look around. But that also means there are moments where the energy drops, where it feels like you're between things instead of heading towards something. And then you get to the parts where everything clicks. Pandora is the best example of this. There are signs, textures, music, and small details that make it feel like an actual place instead of a themed area. Asia is similar. Expedition Everest isn't just a ride sitting in a land. The entire area builds up to it. From the trekking paths to the queue filled with expedition gear and artifacts. And this is why the park still works. Because when Animal Kingdom is at its best, it feels more real than any other Disney park. But there's still a trade-off. Because all of that space, all of that realism, means the park can feel spread out and exposed. There's a lot less indoor space compared to other parks. A lot of the walkways are wide open, and when it's hot, you feel it. Every time I visited this park, it seemed that the sun felt hotter, and the overall setup of the park does little to mitigate the discomfort of Florida weather. Animal Kingdom is known for being one of the hottest parks in Disney World. And that's not just because of Florida, it's the design. Dense vegetation traps heat, waterways block airflow, and the lack of indoor attractions means you're outside most of the time. So instead of moving from air-conditioned ride to air-conditioned ride, you're just out in it. So is Animal Kingdom worth it? Yeah, but you have to understand what it is. While I have never felt as excited to visit this park compared to others in Orlando, it still holds a strange mystique that leaves me wanting to return. If you're expecting a ride-heavy park, this isn't it. But if you're looking for something that feels different from every other Disney park, this is probably the most unique one they've built. It's less about stacking rides and more about creating an environment. Even if that means parts of it feel slower or more spread out or even a little empty at times. And honestly, if you're going here, the experience can completely change depending on how prepared you are. This isn't one of those parks where you can just wing it all day. You're walking a lot, you're in the heat, and there aren't as many places to just sit inside and reset. So having good shoes, something to stay hydrated, and solid sunscreen, it actually makes a huge difference here compared to other parks. I've got the stuff I personally use linked below if you want to check it out. At the end of the day, Animal Kingdom feels different because it was built differently. It's not trying to compete with other parks on ride count. It's trying to pull you into a world. And sometimes that works incredibly well. And sometimes it leaves you walking through a really detailed and immersive place, wondering where everything is.